Sup peeps, my name is Ian. I sell books on eBay and now a little bit in Vinted as well. This is Bundles of Books, so welcome back to the channel. And today is day 23, I'm holding up 2, but 23 of selling books on eBay on Vinted. What do we have going out today? What do we want to talk about today? Well, a couple of questions to come back to. So, what do I consider to be enough profit to make it worthwhile listing a book, an item? Vinted, postage costs. I've got a bit of a niggle going on about that. And 13 orders in total to go through. A couple from Vinted and the rest from eBay. So let's start with some Vinted orders. That seems the easiest thing to do. And first up, we've got Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh. So I think this is part of a trilogy. Young adult, romantic stuff. Something to do with that. Anyway, £6 on Vinted for that one. And then, if I can reach them, a little bundle of 3. We've got Fly By Night by Frances Harding. And then 2 by Kylan Bayron, something along those lines. What's that one? The Poison Heart and This Wicked Fate. So all of these are books that I have had around eBay one way or another. They've sat for weeks, months, not done anything, not sold, and gone kind of within a day of sticking them on Vinted. So that's quite nice. I do recognise that, you know, when you're going new onto anything, they always give you a bit of a boost. I mean, they can't give you sales, but you'll get a bit more visibility when you first join any of these new platforms. When you're first new to any of these platforms, just to encourage you to get a few sales and keep listing and keep trying to sell more. So it's been a good wee start to that. We'll see if it continues. But £9 in sales from Vinted. Not going to complain. Right. Whilst we're on Vinted, before we go into the eBay orders, Vinted postage. So I know I mentioned this yesterday. A couple of folk have come back saying different things. So from the buyer's perspective, no matter how big a bundle they buy, they pay the 2 kilo kind of postage. And that's great from a buyer's point of view. But it doesn't really tell me who has to pick up the additional postage cost, because I haven't used nearly all the carriers. If you send something that you have misweighed, or the couple of times I've done it, I've put in a 2 instead of a 2,000, then you get charged. Somebody gets charged for the additional postage cost. If it's the likes of Yodel and Every, then they just take it out your account, because I'm set up for accounts through these things. If these books, I've got zero doubt, there's been at least 3 bundles where they have been massively underestimated weights-wise. The weights I've put into Vinted have all been, you know, like this is 500 grams, this is a kilo, etc. And the one bundle that went out yesterday for 7 books, its total weight via the listings would have been 4.5 kilos. Now, it didn't weigh 4.5 kilos, it weighed about 3.5, but its total weight should have been 4.5 kilos. But Vinted asked the buyer to pay for a 2 kilo package, and that's the label I got to post it. So if that then comes back and says, oh, that was overweight, so more needs to be paid, who gets billed for that? If that comes back to me, then the £4 or £5 that I've made off of that bundle, half of it's gone, which means that there's no point in selling these things. You know, to make 20-30 pence a book for the amount of time it takes for listing, storing, picking, packing, posting, it's just not worth it at all. That completely obliterates the point of doing this. So I'm a wee bit nervous about that. I have messaged Vinted and asked, gone through their whole customer help thing, and I'll see what they come back with. But like I say, if I was selling something for £100 and I ended up having to pay an extra couple of quid in postage, it's not going to be such a big deal. But if I'm selling something for £1 and I have to pay an extra couple of quid in postage, then that's utterly, utterly pointless. So I'm a wee bit nervous. I do have a big stack of stuff that I want to get listed up on Vinted, but to be honest, I'm not going to do it until I get a response from them to that query, because if that's, the aim is to sell bundles, that's what you're wanting people to do, because it makes it easier for you. It means they get a better deal because they're paying less postage rather than postage on every single item. But if consistently I'm going to get charged extra on the postage, let's say, not worth it at all, not worth it at all. So I'm a wee bit nervous, a wee bit wary about that. I hope that it doesn't come back to me, because at the moment I've made like maybe 40 quid on Vinted, 40 to 45 pounds on Vinted over the last 2 or 3 days. And if the 3 or 4 parcels that are underweight, then potentially that's 10 to 15 pounds I'm going to be due out of that money. And let's say that just is ridiculous. The whole point of Vinted is that you don't have postage costs. Whatever you sell, that's your earnings. So yeah, we'll wait and see what they say, but he's nervous. Anyway, let's have a look at some eBay orders. And the first one we have is Julia Donaldson. So 5 Julia Donaldson books. So the usual kind of stuff, a bit of Gruffalo, a bit of, Room in the Broom, Gruffalo's Child, Smartest Giant, Squash and a Squeeze. So 5 of them, £12 something I get for those. That's my standard on them. So that's not too bad. That's the only sale I've had through today so far. Then after that we have a little standalone book, £6 for this one, Bentley Little's Death Instinct. So I know Bentley Little's done kind of horror books, but I think this is a thriller, when he was writing as Philip Emmons. So there you go. That's that one. Then we have, this was quite a nice wee sale, Mont Blanc, The Pen People. I don't know if that's how they would describe themselves. Collectibles, Creations of Passion. So it's a catalogue book. That sold for 25 quid. So yes, happy with that one. And then another single book. We've got a few single books today. This one did not sell for £25. It went for £5.99. Aldous Huxley, Brave New World. A famous book, and it always sells. So that's going to Ron the Human. That's a good name. Next, we've got one that I picked up about a week ago. I priced this at the kind of top end of what they were selling for, because you only find them every now and again, and they always sell. And it is The Bachman Books by Stephen King. So this is the book club edition, and it's missing its dust jacket, but it has Rage. Rage is no longer published, but this has Rage in English, in full, from 1987, which makes this quite a collectible and sought after item, which is why a book club book with no dust jacket from 1987 sold for £52. So definitely one to keep your eyes open for. If you find the Bachman Books or Rage as a standalone, it's a sought after book, and it does sell for good money. Why is it sought after? Because it's out of print. It's no longer being printed. I don't know if you'd go as far as to say it's a banned book, but it's certainly one that both the author and the publishers chose to withdraw, because it's about a high school shooting. So you can understand why. It's been withdrawn some time ago, and it was a scarily, in hindsight, realistic story. So yeah, it's gone. Next we have a little old Bernard Cornwell hardcover book, £4.99. Nothing spectacular there. Very little profit in it, from one of the listings that I've changed so that it's free postage but a higher price per book. Only I meant to put all the hardcovers up by £1, and I forgot, and I'm a bit annoyed. It doesn't have any bearing on that. I still make £1 or so off of that, so it's absolutely fine. But if somebody was to order 5 hardcover books, they'd only pay like the basic price, and it would be expensive to send. Expensive-ish, but let's see, that's an aside. Next, we've got a pre-made bundle of 4, and this is for $14.99. A bit of Heather Morris. So I'll keep my eyes open for these, and when I see all 4 of our books, or once I've collected all 4 of our books, I stick them up in a bundle listing, and they typically sell reasonably quickly. So Sisters Under the Rising Sun, Badum. The first one, Tattoos of Auschwitz, 3 Sisters, and Silka's Journey. So the 4 of them, $14.99. Always happy. Another bundle, this time one that somebody has built themselves. And it is Philippa Gregory. So we've got 3 Sisters, 3 Queens, Last Tudor, and the Boleyn Inheritance. The 3 of them, £9.98. So that's $4.99 each. Buy one, get one free. That's a bad place to put them, isn't it? Let's just stick them back here just now. So, yes, a couple of good sales today, and a bit of bread and butter as well, which is always a nice wee mix to get. Next little sale was a stack of very good condition Robert Goddard. These have only been up a few days. £12.99. So £12.99 for 5 paperbacks. That's good as far as I'm concerned. For the price I can pick them up for, I'm quite happy with such a sale. And then similarly, for I think £12.99, going to Maggie. Cheers, Maggie. We've got 5 Anne Cleeves. So again, from a multi-listing, much like the Philippa Gregory's, and about £12 something. It's a bit less than £12.99 for the Anne Cleeves ones, I think, but it's close enough. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's £12.99. No, it's £12.99. £12.99 for the Anne Cleeves books. And finally, another pre-made bundle, and one that has been sitting for months and months. And it's 4 Michael Connolly hardcover first editions. So I had a few MC firsties, so I'd bundled them up, and this is a few of them sold. This is the last one. It's just been waiting to go. $19.99 for the 4 of those. So again, quite a nice wee individual sale. That's how you be able to look at it. But really, it's 4 hardcovers, a £5 each. Which again, first editions, good condition. Who's to complain about that? Anyway. So that's the eBay sales. That's the Vinted sales. Another distinctly average day. Well, still below average day. But average is something that you very rarely hit. You're always above it or below it, and that's why it's an average. But for January, it would be very well above average. But over the last 12 months, it's about 40 quid. No, 70 quid below, which is not so good. But we keep struggling through. The Vinted has certainly provided a bit of encouragement, even if it's not a huge amount of additional profit. Every little counts. And once I can get past the whole postage issue, hopefully can do even more with that and progress it further. Anyway, some of the questions and comments that have been coming in over the last few days, let's just bring them up so I know exactly what I'm saying. It's been around, as often comes up, profit, cost of goods. So, Allo 4321. I'm lucky in what I can pick up for the price I can pick it up. There's most of the places round about me are the same as everywhere else, where you're looking at £1 to £2 or more for a single book. There's a couple of shops, a handful, where they sell them cheaper. It tends to be your kind of local charity shops where you can go in and pick up 4 for £1, 3 for £1. There's a couple of places that'll do 2 for £1. So that's okay for certain books. But where I probably do best is building relationships, which is weird because I've never been very good at the whole networking thing. Never liked it anyway, that's for sure. But being consistent and going in and looking for stuff and finding out what they do with all the extra things that they get donated. Excuse me. DVDs, books, CDs. Most charity shops get an overabundance. Some just don't take them anymore because they get so many that they can't deal with. Speaking to in one shop yesterday, and they were telling me that I think they sell their books, all their excess stuff, to World of Books, and it's by the kilo. And the manager was saying it's either going down to 4p or 2p a kilo. 4p or 2p a kilo. So that means that for those 5 Anne Cleeves books, World of Books would be getting them for between 4 and 6p. So that's where they can make their profit. You know, we're talking about pennies a book. Obviously, I know a lot of the stuff that they get through that, and the other companies that do the same, it's not sellable. It's trash. It's going to get pulped. It's going to get used for other things. But still, that's what the charity shops are getting for the stuff that they're sending off to them. A lot of the charity shops that sell their books for a couple of quid each only put out the nice shiny books that they either know they've got a market for or think that they've got a market for. But that means that they have probably, not definitely, but probably got hundreds and hundreds of books every week that they're shipping off as rag, essentially. You know, either to something like the World of Books or a local buyer or just one of the other companies that deal with things that way. So if you're a known face, if you're in there and you're consistently looking for things, even if you're only buying a couple of books at a time just because it's ones that are worth the value, you'll know which member of staff after a while it's worth having a conversation with, and just explain to them what you do, why you do it, and ask them what they do with their excess stock. If they have 10 crates sat out the back and they're going to get £4 or £5 because of the weight of them from the rag, then they might be willing to let you have a look through and pay an awful lot less than their £1 or £2 shelf price, but they would get more out of it. So you might be able to pick up, say you grabbed 20 books out of those boxes and said to them, right, I'll 4 for £1, I'm going to get a £5, which is what they might have got for all 10 of those crates. And the amount that you'll have taken out has only reduced what they'll get for the crates by pennies. So it can be worth approaching things that way. You don't know if you don't ask. But work out the right person to ask. I see people going in all cocky, and that doesn't seem to work. You know, be transparent, be honest, be open, be yourself, explain what you're looking for. If somebody says no, then it's a no. But that doesn't always stay a no, because once somebody knows you're interested, then at some point they might turn around and go, oh, you were looking for books, weren't you? Here, we've got a whole load. And that could be your opening and your opportunity. So sourcing wise, you know, you just got to keep your eyes open, look for opportunities and see what you can find. And there's lots of different ways to do it, but that's one of the approaches that I would recommend trying. It might work for you, it might not, who knows. Which kind of takes us on to that whole minimum profit question. So if I'm buying a book for £1, then I want to be able to make at least £1 profit on it. And that's the same if I buy a book for £2 or 25p. I want to make at least £1 profit on it. Why? Because with the mix of stuff I pick up and the way that I list things, I can list on average 100 to 150 books in an hour. So I'll take the low end of that, because it just, you know, 1 week I can get through 50 an hour, the next week I can be doing 200 an hour, but let's go with 100 an hour to get them listed, which means that the way I would calculate that is if I've listed 100 books and they're all £1 profit each, which is the minimum, then that means that there's £100 profit for that 1 hour of listing effort. But listing them isn't the only thing that takes effort. You've got to go and source, you've got to store, you've got to pick, you've got to pack, you've got to post. So if it takes me an hour to list 100, I assume that it's going to take me another 2 hours to do all the other processing round about those books. So an hour of listing is 3 hours of total work, working those through. So £100 for 3 hours work is above minimum wage. And that's kind of what I work out, the profit side of it. So it really depends how you're listing things, what your processes are, how easy it is to source, how much time you need to spend sourcing, how long it takes you to pack things, you know, all of these bits and pieces, which is why it can be really important to keep refining all of those processes. You know, saving 10 seconds for every item you pack can start making a difference if you're shifting any kind of quantity. But like I say, I just look to see every book, I want to make £1 on it. £1 sterling. Which sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's a wee bit less than that. But more often than not, it's actually a wee bit more than that, which is where the wins are. You know, the Stephen King book I showed you, I paid £1.50 for that because it was in a more expensive shop, but I recognised it straight away. I'm more than happy to pay £1.50. It took me a couple of minutes to list it. It will take me a couple of minutes to pack it, and then another few minutes there and thereabouts. So I'm going to have made around about £40 off of that book for 10 minutes effort. So that's where you get the wins. There will be stuff that are worth more than that, but I work on the assumption that I need to be able to make £1 minimum on every book that I sell, and that will make it worthwhile continuing what I'm doing. Vinted is a wee bit different, I feel. I've got a lot of stuff I've listed up there for just £1. Obviously, I've got my cost of goods, so anything that goes on there, I did not pay any more than 25p for. I mean, just 26p, I think, is about my average buy cost at the moment. It does go up and down by pennies depending on, you know, what I do in a week, but roughly 25p a book is what I'll just take as my average. So if I sell a book for £1, it's cost me 25p to buy it. The packaging is going to be 10, 15p. I always just make the assumption of 20p for my packaging, again, just to be on the safe side. So that means that book has cost me 45p, and I'm getting £1 back on it, so only making like 55p on a single book. Something with Vinted is that they seem to give you an extra wee kick on top of that. It's to do with the fee. It's appearing on some orders, not on others. So there's another 25, 30p, 38p sometimes appearing against some of those, which takes it back up closer to the £1, but it's still a bit less. To get £1 a book on Vinted, £1.45 would be my real minimum sale price. But I'll work around to that. At the moment, I'm quite happy just to get a few things listed. Well, I was quite happy to get a few things listed just to make sure that I've got stuff up there and see how that market plays out. If I'm going to get hit with additional postage costs because they don't calculate things properly, then that's a very, very, very different story, in which case you'd be looking at £2.50 minimum to make sure that you weren't going to lose money on these orders. And that's that. So yeah, that's the minimum profit piece. I want to make £1 on every book that I sell, and that is based on the amount of time it takes me to process everything that I sell. Having said that, if I went out and spent 20 quid on an item, I wouldn't be happy with only £1 profit. That's not going to work. So the other part of the equation is, what can you get for that 20 quid? So if it's, you know, one thing and I'm only making £1, that's a lot of money tied up for very, very, very small profit. But if I've spent that on books at 4 for £1, then I've picked up 80 books for 20 quid, which would be £80 profit I would be looking at from that bundle. If I've spent £1 a book, then I would be looking at £20 profit from that bundle and that investment. So that's the other thing you need to think about as well. How much money do you have to spend on stock? How much money are you willing to have tied up in stock? And get the balance from that side as well. You know, if you only got 20 quid to spend, you want to be making a good return on it. So, you know, £1 a book might not be worth it if you're having to pay £2 a book to get them in. You know, that's not going to be good enough for you. So maybe you'd be saying, right, well, I want to make a £5 per item. So do you look at how to bundle things? Do you only look for certain titles? And that's all down to you and how you want to have fun doing all of this. And that's it. I've got nothing more to talk about today. I've got a couple of wee jobs to go out and do. I'm hoping I'll hear back from Vinted sooner rather than later, so I can get on with listing a few more things on that site. I've got a few things to get listed up on eBay from pickups yesterday. When I say a few things, a couple hundred books, and we'll take it all from there. Subscriber count 2,000. Thank you all so much for being part of this. It's been great fun so far. Long may it continue. It did creep up to 2,000 early yesterday, but then dropped back down to 1999. So I didn't mention it yesterday because it was a wee bit up and down, but I think we're up at 2005, 2006. So I've now passed the 2,000, and I'm fairly sure it won't drop back down below it anytime soon. It might, you know, subscribers drop off as with anything. So it might drop back down again, but I'm pretty confident that's me at the 2,000 mark now, which is phenomenal. It's mind-blowing. I really didn't think that was a realistic thing when I started having these little chats with you every day. 2,000 subs, over 200,000 views in total now, which again is crazy. And I know there's some channels, some reseller channels who do that in a week, in a month, in a day even. So obviously not competing with any of those guys, but still 200,000 times somebody has watched one of these videos. Yeah, crazy. Thank you so much. To keep that going, like, subscribe, leave a comment, do all of those things that help YouTube recognise that people might want to watch this video, and we'll give more and more people the chance to click on it and have a watch of this video. Of the billions who are out there, I think I get about 250,000 impressions every month. So that's, if I got 100% click on my videos, I would get that many views every month. So obviously, to get more views, I want YouTube to give them more opportunity, and that would be lovely. Anyway, enough of that. Thanks all again, and I shall see you tomorrow.